And I use Scandy Pro, but you might want to find, on your own. If you're using your phone, if you can do this, this is a way that you could capture, instead of making a mold, or especially if you made out of clay and it's just going to deteriorate over time, you can get a 3D. You definitely can take pictures of it for yourself and use it for your social media presence. But you can get a program, an app for your phone that will do 3D scanning. And there's a number of them out there. Scandy Pro worked pretty well for my phone. There's Displayland was another one. So there's a number of them out there. Try them out, see what works best with your particular phone. But anyway, you can read the reviews too. So in this, so I basically have that program on my phone. And the one that I'm using is a front-facing one. So I'm aiming the front, like the camera you would use for the FaceTime or whatever, at that, and not the rear-facing one, which I found a little bit awkward. And then you're going to go around your thing really slowly, not like I'm doing. I'm clumping around. I did try to do this with mounting the phone and then turning the head, but with this particular program, I didn't have any luck with it. It was coming out bad. And actually, this one that I filmed with another camera as I'm doing it, I redid like a couple of times. So it's not that, you might need to try it once, try it twice. And then so the program, once I said, yes, I'd like it, I think it was Share was the thing to choose. I shared it to myself through an email, and I shared it as an OBJ file. And then right now it's opening up in Mesh Mixer. I can't say that really well. So we can get this guy aligned. Well, that's that guy, and let's actually, so we can compare this guy, this character, and we can see that there's definitely loss of detail. Now, I did that really quick. If I had taken more time and refined it and did some more, who knows, I might get better detail, but it's not too bad. I mean, I got this. So we get a 3D file, so you can see what that looks like. But you can tell there's definitely not as much detail in the crevices and stuff like that. But anyway, and probably, you might, if you get into this, check it out and check out the reviews on, see what other people are getting from different types of programs, and maybe there's one that's a paid app that works better. But, for free, not bad. Like free. Let me get rid of that, and open this guy up. You don't need to make this. You don't need to make the sound effects. You could. Those kids that made sound effects to go along with the cartoons, watching them as a child. Anyway, so you see I've got a hole in the head, but I've also got all that board, the box it was on. Actually, I kind of like the way it's like almost like part of the word in there or something. I don't know. And the coffee can came out like with the ridges, much better. That detail comes out. I'm always amazed at things that I don't want. But I got all this other stuff floating around here. And in Mesh Mixer, Mesh Mixer is a pretty good program. It does have some sculpting tools, but they're not, I don't know, they're not as good as Blender, or if you've opened up ZBrush or even Sculpt GL, that one that's online. So you might want to, but it is easier to kind of clean up things and take care of some issues. Especially, I use this program a lot with stuff where, people give me a file and they want it that they made either in Tinkercad or a scan, and we're going to 3D print it. I use this to kind of fix it up, and it has different things to do. But first off, I don't want all this other stuff on here. So I'm going to use the select over here, and I got it set to brush, and you can adjust the size of the brush here. And so there's that dot that you see moving. So I'm going to hold down on the left mouse key, and then move around. And I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff. Now, I don't want to hit. I should have tilted this more. Stop. And then I'm going to go up here to edit, and I'm going to hit discard. And boom, takes it away. So like pot, Joe. If you leave that there, when I'm going to go in other processes to make this solid and fill all these holes, that's going to connect that somehow in a weird way that we could do that, and we see how that. So anyway, so we got rid of most of our other stuff. We saw a big hole and it's hollow, which is not necessarily a problem. And there's two ways you can go about taking care of that. One would be to go to the analysis, which I use a lot for 3D prints, and I go up to the inspector. And there's other stuff you can check there, but I mainly just use the inspector. And then these are all the locations where something's wrong. And it's like, this won't, I mean, basically it's like, this will not 3D print. What are you thinking? We're trying to do this. So the easiest thing to do is to go, and you can adjust this thing, but we'll leave it alone. Auto repair all. Oh, and I should have chose, I got flat fill and I should have chose rounded. Crash. Lapsing. And I have this, and it put the color. You see my coffee cans got the colors on it there now that I wasn't, because it's kind of hard to look at right now because of the way that's done that. So what was chosen up here was color transfer mode automatic, because it still has that information in the file, the scan. So I want to go just click no colors because it's hard to look at if you're going to sculpt on it again. For me anyway. And I'll hit update. There we go. Got that to look at. So you can see now it's filled. And I got some of those weird little areas down here. But what you can do, you could, well, first off, accept. And then you would export it down here as an OBJ. You can export it into another program, in which case you could take it into Blender or ZBrush or even Sculpt GL. You upload it there. I would export it as an OBJ again. And that'll allow you to sculpt on it. But we won't take the time to do that because we're lazy. Let's look at some of the simple sculpting tools in here. Or if you wanted to stay, or if you wanted to just be silly, no, or I shouldn't say silly, abstract it and such, you could add other forms. You could replace that can with a cylinder, or add the cone hat on him. And you could append, I find append to mesh works best for this particular program, but there's also Boolean. If you're in another program, that Boolean works well. I just, creating new objects, make a separate thing. I don't know, that's what you wanted. But anyway, well, that's ridiculous. So those are some things you can play with if you 3D scan your actual clay head. And you're all like, why didn't we just scan our heads in the front? Oh, don't do that. You want to learn about, and be disciplined and learn to look at things. When you're taking a drawing class or a sculpting class where you're sculpting something in clay from a real thing like your head, like even images of your head, the discipline it takes, and the being able to, look at things and interpret them and translate them into another form, is an important thing to learn. It's a thinking process and a way of being able to look at things and be aware of them. So while those are wonderful ways to use scanning to kind of as a tool, is great. Start out with the idea of like practicing something and developing a skill, even though you don't think you're going to use that again. It opens up your mind to being able to look at things and be aware of things. So anyway, that's my philosophical statement. As we're looking at a bunny on my head, I'm making a very serious statement. Okay.